Hello and welcome to New Morphshire. If this is your first time here, then welcome. If it's your second time here and you saw episode 1 and you're back for more, then welcome back. If it's your third time here, then that's super weird because this is only my second video. Today we're going to be building our first base, but first a whistle-stop tour of what I've been up to since we were last together. So we grabbed the sheep and then we grabbed another one and another one. So we got 3 little sheep in our pen. We will be looking to breed them up real soon when we've got some wheat. Then we've got our chickens. We bred them up. We got a bit peckish, so we stroked a couple of them with a sword and stuck that chicken onto the barbecue. We waited for a long time, cut this video so you didn't have to wait too, grabbed a couple of pieces of chicken and fed on them. Then we went mining, found a bit more iron and a bit more coal, which was lovely. Used that iron to craft ourselves a bucket, which we desperately needed so we could move some water around, and we grabbed a couple of buckets of water in order to create an infinite water source near our base. Then around that we hoed some ground in order to plant some seeds and get our first little wheat growing near to home. We also created this little tunnel between our new base area and the water side of that little hill. We got attacked by a sheep, fell straight on our head, but naturally took no damage whatsoever from 140 pounds of sheep landing on our head. We realised that our storage was getting out of hand, so we grabbed those chests that we stole from the village and we started a little bit of light touch inventory management. We used the small chest for blocks and then organised the top chest into various different categories as a bit of a short-term solution. Then we had a bit of an incident. It started with this guy where we just let it get dark. And as you can see, it all went wrong. We had the creeper who was on our tail. We had this little guy. We had these guys coming in from the back, as well as some other zombies and skeletons in the distance. So we pegged it back to base, took a couple of hits there from that baby zombie. And look, there he follows us home. So we waited for him, took no chances, bashed him with a sword as much as we could. And he dropped a piece of iron, which was great. So that was that. Then we went to sleep. And now we are here today to start building our base. Okay, so here we are. Time to start building our first base, which is super exciting. You can see here I started planting some trees over there, and one of them has a beehive. Little supply of bees for us there. Now, in terms of what we're going to do with this base, I actually haven't a Scooby just yet. So I think we're going to decide together, and I'm going to start by plotting down some markers and just trying to think about what shape we want for this building. I'm thinking that we will have the entrance kind of facing this way. We've got our entrance there, our old little base is built inside of that hill, mountain, whatever, and we're going to stick some foundational stones down here. So I think we're going to have an entrance that's probably too wide, maybe here like that. So let's see what we can come up with. Here we go then. So I've created a copy of this survival world and turned it into creative mode so I can show you around a little bit. We've got our entrance here and I'm going to do something with this, perhaps some steps or a little bridge, I'm not quite sure yet. And this will lead into our main entrance hall just here. You can see it's not too big. I'm looking to minimize wasted space. It's really easy to make massive builds that have a lot of dead space, so I'm trying to keep it really concise. So this will lead to an upstairs staircase, although not immediately because I won't be building a second story just yet. But in time, there will be the potential for this to be a staircase upwards. We will also then be having a little room here, which probably is going to be an enchanting room. This looks exactly the perfect shape and size for one, so that's just crying out. And over here we've got our main room. Now I say main room, at the moment we're going to basically keep everything nice and centralized because we will not have a lot of stuff for an awful long time. So we're going to have our bed, our storage, furnaces, all of that good stuff in here for a little while. And then we will have some walkways going round the build down here. Over here will be where the building cuts off. Building won't be a perfect square shape, which is nice, allows us to do some prettier things with roofs and whatnot. Space here for a staircase going downwards into a basement area. We'll definitely want to expand downwards at some point in time. And so that's my initial ground floor plan. So now we just need to start building and give some thought to what materials we're going to use, what style, what colours, that sort of thing. I'm going to use some cobble as some foundations, essentially. Just one row of cobble that is going to look from the outside like the building's actual foundations. You won't see it from the inside because I will have flooring, but it helps me to start to visualize the shape of this build. Okay, so we're still ranking highly on the rubbish, no building existing scale, but we are starting to see the shape of this building. So you can see here the staircase, or what will be. Around the back, we've got the downstairs equivalent, which will go to the basement. We got these walkways down the side and our main room here. We've put this little chimney in so that we can have a little fireplace, a little furnace, and that chimney will run the full height of the build. And in here, we've got to be an enchanting room, hasn't it? It's a perfect shape and size. So yeah, starting to make some real progress here, I think. I'm using oak for the flooring, and you'll notice I'm using slabs instead of planks. There's a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, they're much cheaper. You get 2 slabs for every plank, so it's a bit of a no-brainer. But as well as that, I'm also using underfloor lighting. So you can see I'm digging 1 layer down below where I'm putting those upper slabs, and I'm putting some torches in there, which is going to allow the light to pass through the floor. You can't do that with solid blocks. That light doesn't pass through. Now you're going to notice an increasing amount of trees popping up around here, and let me tell you what that's about. I've realised I'm going to need an awful lot of wood for this build. Of course, I get very carried away when I'm planning builds. I'm kind of used to working in the survival world where I've got pretty much anything and everything that I could ever want on demand, renewable, with redstone farms. It's been a long time since I've done a beginner base, and I realised that I don't have anything at all other than several stacks of cobble. So as you can see, the trees are really starting to pop up, but they're all sustainably grown because I have been planting at a rate of knots, as you can see. So we're using stripped birch for an awful lot of this build, which means we're going to need way more than originally planned. I was thinking originally of using planks of some kind. However, I think the stripped birch looks nice. Slowly, the build is starting to look a little less rubbish. Still a long way to go, but it's starting to take shape. We've started to kind of build up this chimney, and there'll certainly need to be more detailing around that, more detailing on the walls, windows, all that good stuff. But the shape is starting to appear. So we've got this little entrance that opens into the hallway, the stairs that will go up to the second story, this little area here which will be a doorway into probably an enchanting room. Then we've got our main room that'll be in here, and I say main room, early game we'll probably have everything quite centralized in here, so the bed and all the essentials. We'll definitely need to do some detailing on the walls, put some windows in, all that sort of stuff. Around here we've got the stairway down, which is obviously a stairway to nowhere at the moment, but the plan will be that that gives us the opportunity to expand downstairs, and another walkway bringing us round to the front. I've got a bit of a vision for upstairs as well. Obviously there's still a lot more to do, but I think it's starting to look like it'll be a nice little house. Okay, so we're working on the roof. That's starting to take shape, and inside we're also putting the ceiling in for the lower floor. You can see this is really now starting to feel like a 2-story building. I know I said I wasn't going to do 2 stories, but it's kind of hard to do 1 story without doing the second one because you end up having to do the roof for the first story anyway. So I kind of ended up doing the full build. I should have known better. That was always going to happen. So here's our fireplace. If we just jump down here, you'll see that goes all the way to the top, and the smoke signals will go all the way up. By putting this hay bale down first and a campfire on top, you get much bigger smoke signals. And then I'm just going to put this furnace right in front of it, which I think looks quite nice. It looks like the furnace is smoking out the back. Put those little walls there to give this a bit of texture, and I think that's looking quite good. So on the second floor, you can see the smoke coming up from the ground. We're also going to put some walls here just to give it more texture, and we'll put an iron bar here when we're done. I'm going to use a second campfire here because we've got this 2 deep, so we have the option to have 2 sets of smoke signals coming out the top, which is quite nice. And I really like how that looks. From the outside, this is what you see, which I think is really cool. At the back of the build, we had this area. The building wasn't a perfect square, and I thought this was crying out to be a bit of a patio kind of area. I've put a ground floor and a balcony on the top, which I really quite like. In the main building here, we've got the early workings of a little storage area. We just head upstairs and see how that's panning out. This is the balcony from the top. We'll have a lantern there. And I think this is just a nice use of the space. I'm really happy with how this is working out. Big open plan room. We forgot to put that iron bar there. Let's do that now. That's better. Look at that. And then a little space over here. Don't know what we're going to do with this yet. So this is really starting to come along, I hope you'll agree. Needs a lot of work in terms of detailing, but I think it's really starting to take shape. I feel like I've said take shape about 30 times on this video, but it is taking shape, so that's good. We need to detail this building a little bit and make it stand out. We started with some windows, oddly enough, just poked a few holes in for now. And then we started to add these planks and sideways logs to give a bit of texture, make it look a bit more natural. We also used oak signs all the way around in between the first and second levels to kind of break it up and give it that 3D feeling. Lastly, we went around the whole thing and put buttons everywhere, and I really like these. They're great for running above the windows and just really bring the building together. So for me, that was enough texture considering how early in the game we are. We don't have a lot of material, so I'm really happy with how it turned out. So here we built a little barbecue, super cheap and easy. It's also safe, so we can just throw some food on there, walk up to it without burning ourselves. And this is where I put it, in our little patio decking area, which I'm really happy with. In here, we've now put the door, and as well as that, we've put pressure plates on the inside and the outside so we can get in and out nice and easily. And in here, we started to build our workshop. Now, we desperately need access to more wood types. As you can see, it's getting seriously, well, woody in here. We really need some more design options. So this is something we're going to come back to. And then lastly, upstairs, we've put our beds for now. Just 2 double beds, some really light touch design work, just a bit of a temporary measure. Back over at the farm, if we can call it that, we are starting to get a nice collection of animals. We've got loads of chickens, which we've been breeding up. We've also been collecting the eggs and shooting them back down into the pen to try and hatch out some more baby chickens. So we've got a great supply of meat. As well as that, we've clearly got loads of sheep. Not many pigs, because we haven't got anything to breed them just yet. But plenty of food, plenty of wool from our sheep and our chickens. So I think we're going to leave it there for episode 2. It's a pretty short episode from your perspective, but from my perspective, this took an awful long time, way longer than it should for a starter build, but I do tend to get carried away. So if you enjoyed it at all, please like the video and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.